Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. It is September 25th, 2024. Let's talk football, let's talk futures. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, let me just say by now, reality has set in. You have a lot of people in a lot of very big Vegas pools who were convinced that this was their year, right? It could be a survivor pool. That might have been scrubbed, quite frankly, by the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Who week after week in games that looked winnable, apart from the KC game. Let's face it, the Bengals are off to a bad start. Let me add the word again. This seems to be a recent trend with this team, right? So many good gamblers, are out of survivor pools. Also, with regard to the regular pools where teams are trying to win and beat other sophisticated gamblers, just understand how tough they are. You're going week to week. Understand, you're going to have upsets. Didn't the 49ers just lose to the Vikings? Right? You're going to have upsets in any given week. That's going to put you behind the 8 ball. The rate of return just isn't as good as it should be for the risk involved. Well, let me just say, while I bet week to week, I'll make week to week picks here on occasion. The real money to me is in futures, because you're able to get leverage and because the market is more volatile than it should be. So, this week we're going Christmas shopping. The lines are so skewed that you're able to walk in and get really good teams that are panicking right now because they had errant games. So let's start with the best team in the league. By the way, that's not Kansas City. If you think it is, then explain to all of us in the comment section of this video how Travis Kelce is off to the bad start he is. Let's look at that passing attack. I know Rashee Rice is looking good, but understand, one of KC's wide receivers who should be a starter is on the DL. Right? Just understand, KC's offense is not high-powered. Pacheco's hurt. KC's offense was not high-powered last year. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback, and you have, quite frankly, a supporting cast that's lost its fastball. Tyreek Hill, long gone. Right? And so, my point to you is, with regard to Travis Kelce, is this a Rodney Harrison situation where Kelce's distracted? Right? You've just gotten a ring. You're in all these commercials. You have the superstar girlfriend. A lot of people are looking at her during games more than at the team. You hope it's that, don't you? Because the other truth, that Kelce's well into his 30s, that Father Time catches up to all of us, that Kelce is no longer the Kelce he once was. That if I'm a defensive coordinator, I don't have to worry about some Tyreek Hill character. Right? I can say to my secondary, hey, let's have one guy in Rashee Rice. We'll take our chances there. Let's make sure this Kelce guy, this future Hall of Famer, doesn't kill us. Right, folks? Kelce can't handle the double teams anymore. Let me also say, too, let's cross some teams off the list. The Miami Dolphins. Folks, Tua was actually one of the better quarterbacks in this league. I talk about him in past tense because he's visiting with a neurologist. Isn't he on IR? He's going to be out weeks. When he comes back, I'm not sure if they're going to rush him back into the starting lineup. He just signed a big deal. He's going to get a lot of money. Right? The team might want to make sure that, he exits with class and isn't roughed up. I think it's over for the Dolphins for this year. right? I don't mean to sound hard, but understand this is the way futures operate. You have to spot the teams that are not going to deliver early. Let me say this, the Indianapolis Colts, folks, somebody someplace is going to have to explain the hype to me about Anthony Richardson, their quarterback. Folks, I'm unimpressed. Right? According to reports, Greg Cosell looked at film and thought that Richardson was missing high school throws. Right? Yes, the guy looks like a great athlete. Right, folks? Every year we know that's not enough. How many great athletes have not made it at quarterback in the NFL? So while the Colts do have talent, right, Jonathan Taylor's still on that team, they don't have the quarterback to carry them. So I'm crossing Indy off my list. Now keep in mind, these are futures. If Richardson goes out there, throws for 300 yards, looks good a couple of straight weeks, I might venture back into the water. But right now, it would take something like that for me to be convinced. So let's talk about the teams that I think offer compelling, that's the word, compelling value right now. Right? Because every week we're going to look at some teams, and when you're getting compelling value, you're going to have to say to yourself, wow, am I going to get this team at these odds again this season? For some of the teams I'm going to mention, I believe the answer is no. So let's start. San Francisco's lost 2 games in a row. They gave away this game against the Vikings. Understand, San Fran missed the field goal that was very makeable. San Fran had a lead. Then, of course, the Vikings come back. In fact, it's the Rams this last week, right? That's how many losses they're having, folks. They're all blurring together. Right? Just understand, the Rams come back, then the Rams kick a field goal at the end to beat them. You're getting the Niners, again, the best team in the National Football League from this seat, at a plus 650. Folks, I like this play. I know they haven't delivered. McCaffrey is seeing a specialist for his Achilles serious injury. He might not be back for some time. His backup's outstanding. Brandon Ayuk, Mr. $120 million wide receiver, he, of course, wasn't playing in preseason. It shows, right? But understand, we're still in the month of September. He'll get back in the saddle. They'll figure things out, right? The defense is still brick. The division is still doable. I like the Niners. You're getting a plus 650. These are spectacular odds for this team. Let's talk about a team everyone loves to hate for some reason. You're getting them at 25-1 right now to win the whole thing. You heard me right. 25-1 to win the whole thing. The interesting thing is that their quarterback last year threw for the most touchdowns in the National Football League. The team, of course, made the playoffs last year. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. They have an easy game against my Giants this week. I understand that Ezekiel Elliott has lost his fastball at running back. Dalvin Cook can't even get on the field. The running back situation is in tatters, right? Just understand what's not in tatters is their level of talent on defense. It's the fact, too, that they have CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott on offense. 25-1 on a team that made the playoffs last year. Sign me up. I think that's a compelling deal. Let's talk about a team that proved itself to me. My dad's team, the New York Jets. Folks, I attended week 1. I was literally at the game. They were playing the Niners. The Jets actually looked good for a while there. Right? Just understand. This team has one of the league's better defenses. Just look at their numbers from this last week. This team has, we'll call it stealth talent. Breece Hall is an excellent running back. He's excellent. His backup, who's one of the youngest players in the league, is also excellent. Understand you have a multiple MVP winner. I believe he won 4 MVPs at quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Folks, this Jet team is loaded. Right now, I'll just say you're in a division where I'll give the Patriots credit. The Patriots, to me, are going to eventually fade. Right? The Dolphins, to me, don't have a chance given Tua's health problems. Right? The Bills are going to be tough, but understand the Jets are already in the top half of their division with one of the league's better defenses. You're getting them, believe it or not, at 10-1 to win the AFC. I like the Jets on futures plays. To win the AFC and to win the whole thing, understand the way futures work. I just need to get in the area code of the Jets winning the AFC. Right? The Jets need to make the playoffs. The Jets need to, have favorable odds. In other words, if the Jets are favored in a playoff game, that's great. Because you can hedge the play and get great odds on their opponent. Right? If the Jets make it to the second round of the playoffs, that's great. Because then you could step in, you have an endowment, right? 10-1 just to win the conference, not the Super Bowl. You have an endowment that you could work with to hedge. Let's talk about a fourth team, and this one's going to be controversial. Right? The quarterback hasn't shown an ability to pass for a lot of yards. But yet he scored two touchdowns this last week. Right? The defense is one of the best in the league. This team made the playoffs last year, has the reigning coach of the year. And it's the Cleveland Browns. Look, in the division, Cincinnati's done. Stick a fork in them. They're 0-3. Right? Jamar Chase showed up big this last weekend. They still couldn't win the game. Right? Cincinnati's done. I love Tomlin. Raiders are overachieving. Justin Fields, I'm not a full believer. Maybe in time, as he gets older, he'll change my mind. He's not there yet. I think Cleveland is in the top half of that division, the AFC North, with the Ravens, who seem to be overworking Derrick Henry a little bit. I thought Henry was the vet who was going to be on the team, and you were going to save him for the playoffs. Well, they're not saving him in the month of September, I'll tell you that. Right? But just understand, Cleveland is in the running, just like they were last year. You're getting them right now at 70-1 to win the Super Bowl. Right? 70-1. I continue to believe that Cleveland is one of the best bets on the board. Right? I call them the best bet on the board last week. I still think they are among the best bets on the board. Let's talk about a team we haven't talked about enough. The backup quarterback has saved the day. They actually have one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. This is the team that knocked out the Dallas Cowboys last year in the playoffs. This is the team that almost knocked out the San Francisco 49ers. It's the Green Bay Packers. Right, folks? Jordan Love is close to returning. You're getting them at 20-1. I like those odds. Right? This is a young, vibrant team. Josh Jacobs is now on the team. They can run the ball ad nauseum against you. You get back Love, you'll be able to pass the ball. Love was looking good week 1 before he got injured. Green Bay 20-1. They have my attention. Now this next pick surprises me. They have the best quarterback from this current class on their team. And it's not Caleb. It's not Bo. It's not Penix. It's Jaden Daniels. Right? I'm just waiting to get this week's odds on Jaden Daniels to win Rookie of the Year. Right? I'm just waiting for those odds. This guy, he's a running quarterback, so his career is not going to be as long, but he's a better passer than, let's say, people like Michael Vick. Right? This is an outlier talent, right? He's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Washington, too, seems to have more defense than I thought. But what really impresses me are the odds I'm getting. The Commanders right now are going off at 100-1. Right? All I need this team to do is to linger around in late November. At these odds, I can then start betting against them. If they have a mathematical chance of making the playoffs, I can make this bet work late in the season to get back what I bet on them and make a profit. Right? Take a look at the Commanders. Take a hard look. I'm just telling you, look at Jaden Daniels' numbers from this last week. That's against the Bengal team that thought they were going to make the playoffs this year. Right? Take a good look at Jaden Daniels. Folks, he's much better at this point than Caleb, the first pick in the NFL draft. Let's name two more teams that impress me. Folks, the Atlanta Falcons look like they have an offensive line, don't they? Kirk Cousins got a gift. He should have lost that game to Philly. The ball bounced off Saquon Barkley's hands. If Barkley catches that ball, that game is over. He dropped the ball. Atlanta got the ball back, got the touchdown, got the win. Right? Just understand, Cousins has an offensive line to work with. He has some wide receivers to work with. That Drake guy is great with Cousins. Atlanta right now, you're getting them at 40-1. Right, folks? They're only 17 games in a season. This would be like winning 2 seasons worth of games consecutively, betting the same amount on a game. Right? The final team here where I believe you're getting a sale you might not be able to get later. You know, I'm totally biased. Totally. I'm completely unfair in praising former Pac-12 quarterbacks. Right? May the Pac-12 rest in peace. Just understand, on my list here, I'm gaga over Aaron Rodgers today. Right? Well, Minnesota has SC's former quarterback. Folks, he can play. He was Brock Purdy's backup last year. Sam Darnold. Right? Oh my goodness. Sam Darnold's with a good coach. He's with Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver. His offensive line is giving him time to throw. He's been in the league a few years. He's been in situations like the Carolina Panthers and other situations. He's gotten his feet wet. And now he's hitting his prime, and the talent is starting to show itself. Understand, Darnold was one of these guys who was very young when he entered the league. Darnold has an interesting past where he himself used to be a linebacker at one point. Now, how you go from linebacker to actually starting quarterback for the USC Trojans is anyone's guess. But understand, this guy has that level of talent. I like the Vikings. You're getting them at 30-1. So let's be clear here. In the NFC North, right, you have the Lions, you have the Packers, you have the Vikings, you have the Bears, right? I think the Bears are the team that's on the outs. Of the other three, I don't know who's going to win that division. Right? So I actually prefer having bets on these teams to win the conference more than the division. For example, Green Bay to win the NFC North. You're getting a plus 275. Folks, that's insane. That's simply insane, right? Just look at Jordan Love's salary. The powers that be know that he's a excellent quarterback, right? I would grab the plus 275. It's just that Minnesota's off to a fast start, and the Lions do play a lot of games indoors, right? So, plus, who wants a plus 275 when they could get a plus 2,000, which is what the Pack are going off to win the conference? Well, add 10 to that. The Vikings right now are a plus 3,000. They're 30 to 1. Now, here again, the fiction with futures is that I'm betting on each of these teams to win the conference. Right? No, that's not really the truth. Right? I'm betting for leverage. So if we get to mid-December and a team like Minnesota is still in the hunt, and folks, they've already beaten the 49ers. Right? If Minnesota is still in the hunt, then great. I can start betting against them. Keep in mind, $1 would give me the possibility of winning $30. So I could, in a game, let's say it's even money for mathematical simplicity here. Let's say they're playing in mid-December. It's an important game. I feel Minnesota, as promising as they aren't going to win the conference or win the Super Bowl, right? The 30 to 1's for the Super Bowl. I can bet $5 on the other team. If the other team beats Minnesota, I'll then say, okay, great. I made $4 profit off a $1 bet. Right? The only reason I'd bet the 5 is because I'd realize that if Minnesota won that game, then I'm that much closer to getting the return. It would be 30 to 1 minus the $5 that I've lost on that game. Right? I'd still have the possibility to end up in the black. That following week, I could bet $10 on the team playing Minnesota. Right? The goal here is just to use futures to create situations where you can then make other bets that are highly profitable. So that's how I see it. To sum up, in my eyes, even though Kansas City is getting shorter odds right now, that's really based more on what Kansas City has done. Right? The 3 rings that Andy and Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce have put together than where Kansas City is right now. Folks, the offense used to be the strong point of that team. It is no longer. Right? Even though you're getting shorter odds with KC, I still believe the best team in the league are the San Francisco 49ers. Right? Understand how banged up they were. Christian McCaffrey, the league's rushing leader, was out last week. Deebo Samuel, who's making a lot of money, just look at his salary, was out last week. In recent memory, you'd be hard-pressed to find a team that had more running back talent that was out and injured. And they still were able to run the ball effectively because the third-string guy is that good. He's the guy who destroyed the Jets week 1. He's the guy who had a yards per carry coming into this season of over 5 yards a carry. That's how deep the Niners are. Right? So, San Fran, best team in the league, plus 650. Dallas, 25 to 1, sign me up. Jets, 10 to 1 to win the AFC. I like that play. I believe they're 15 to 1 or something like that to win the NFL. Think about that. Cleveland 70 to 1. Folks, Deshaun Watson hasn't played that bad. They have a winnable game this week against the Raiders in Las Vegas. Right? That's winnable. Green Bay 20 to 1. Washington 100 to 1. If Jaden Daniels is as good as he looked this last week, folks, he's not just among the better quarterbacks in the league. He's in the Pro Bowl. Let's say he regresses to the mean a bit, right? In terms of athleticism, he's still what? Top 3 quarterback in the league. Look at his arm and accuracy. Folks, he's not just a running quarterback. This is a guy who can actually pass the football. Then, of course, Atlanta, who has a shot to win their division at a minimum. And they've beaten Philly already. And, of course, the Minnesota Vikings. Right? Those are the teams that interest me this week. Let me also make a point on Philly since I mentioned them. The splits on Philly with A.J. Brown and Philly without A.J. Brown are stark. Right, folks? They're stark. You need to carefully consider that, since A.J. Brown has had some injury issues already this year, and we're still in September. You need to consider how fragile the situation is in Philly before you put money on them. Nick Sirianni was on the sideline. Some lineman came over. Now, we've all seen players get emotional with coaches. Sometimes it works out, right? Travis Kelce walks over to Andy Reid and bumps him. I don't believe the Chiefs suspended Kelce. Andy Reid is still the head coach and still has the locker room. The Chiefs are still winning games, right? Sometimes it works, right? I was watching a college game. Jimmy Johnson was on the sidelines. A college player, Michael Irvin, walks over to him and is yelling at him. And the player had to pull Irvin away from him. And Irvin is yelling. You knew he was cursing. And, of course, on the telecast, they told you Irvin was saying, just give me the damn ball. Right? Both of them are in the Hall of Fame today. Right? But understand, a lineman was yelling at Nick Sirianni, who, to me, doesn't quite have control of that team. Didn't that team fold up like a lawn chair the last third of last year? Right? How does that happen? Right? I look at Philly and I see a volatile situation. Right? Food for thought. I will say that, also recognizing that Saquon Barkley looks spectacular. Looks like he's a future Hall of Famer. You wonder what exactly happened with the Giants. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.